the beautiful Matt Wiles, what's going on? Everything I was about to say in that moment was way too inappropriate. I was like, hold on, reel back in. It was all finger jokes, and I was like, nope, that's definitely not it. Dude, the other day I botched an interview on Channel 12 because they asked me at the end what I thought about Muppets, and I made quite the innuendo, and I was like, dude, fuck.
You caught me off guard.
But it's like I had this talk with myself, like nothing inappropriate, nothing stupid. You got this, Matt. 6 minutes in, I'm like, I accomplished my task. Then they said, Matt, what do you think about the Muppets as they transition? And I said, it's just not my favorite type of hand play, so I'm kind of indifferent. And then I went, this is live morning news. Like, my mother's going to be pissed. But then I told my wife, and she laughed, so I was like, at least I'm not disappointing her.
Yeah.
We're good.
It's that also something that I feel like that's subtle enough where, like, some people might catch that and get a giggle out of it. I think a lot of people it's just not.
Yes, they're not ready for that in the morning. But guess who texted me? Aaron Fitzpatrick. He goes, they really set you up with a softball on that. I was like, I don't think that's what they wanted, brother, but thank you for texting me. Thank you for being there for me.
Yeah, I knocked that out of the park.
It's always the local musicians that are ready to be like, was that a dick joke?
Well, yeah, exactly. So I mean, so there are people. I feel like most of the people who take it that way are the people whose sense of humor
gravitates towards it naturally.
Yeah, they're the people who take it that way are probably gonna be the ones who actually find it funny.
Yes. My favorite type of humor is to say something that will lead you to the conclusion yourself and then blame that person for thinking that. You know what I'm saying? Like, walk them up to the door and be like, I can't believe you would come to that conclusion. Moving on.
Yeah. No, that is, again, like, that's what subtleties, subtleties are amazing.
Absolutely.
In that way. It's for that. No, that is some of the best anything. Well, that's how, I mean, really, that's how, in my opinion, that's how satire seems to work the most, or at least in modern society. There's so many people don't get the joke, and it's usually the people that the joke is on. And I mean, that's kind of the point, like the whole, I guess it's always been, honestly, I think it's always kind of been like that. I've always felt like even if you go back, satire has been such a big part of free speech or art forever. Yeah. Really. Well, and so I feel like most of the people who one day realize, I mean, we see this a lot now, when people, all this, it's coming to, people are waking up and they're realizing like, I didn't realize Rage Against the Machine songs were about this or that. And it's like, wow, you're kind of dumb. I'm sorry. That's it was pretty clear.
Now Spotify's spoon feeding you lyrics. You can tell now that it has some weight. Yeah. It's like nervous laughter in a room. If everyone else is laughing, sometimes you just go with it, so you hope to not be the butt of the joke. Yeah. But you still tend to be. Yeah. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but there's a lot more unintentional slow claps going on at gigs where someone's like, the song ends, and there's one guy in the back being like, and then people are like, do we like that? Okay, sure, why not?
Yeah. No, I've seen people jump on the applause train, and it always cracks me up, whether I'm just there or I'm performing, because I don't. And there in some situations, it's really funny. Like, I think it's the funniest if you're playing a gig at a maybe something like a restaurant or just something that isn't a like designated performance showcase. So if you're a background thing, something you're playing music where the main goal isn't like, oh, this is a performance space. So there's no expectation, even as somebody who's playing, to get any amount of attention from anybody, because it's a function, so it is what it is, and you know that. But sometimes it is funny when you're playing in one of those environments, especially restaurants are a good example of this, because sometimes there's lots of people who love music no matter where it is. So they might come in or sit in an area in the restaurant or at the bar closer to you because they do want to engage or listen, like they do like having you there. And they might be watching more than other people at the restaurant, and they might applaud a little bit. But it is kind of funny when there's those few brave people in the like full bar or restaurant where it's like they're clearly the only ones who are engaged to that degree, which is fine. But they commit to the clap, and it's just enough where the people around them are just like, who aren't even engaged. We're just like, oh no, like, yes.
Yeah.
And it just watching an amount of applause catch on to people who had zero intent to applaud, or even like, it might not even completely register that there were people in the corner making sounds. Just, it doesn't bother me, but I always think that's funny because it's just awkward enough because they're just like, oh God.
Yeah. Well, you can tell who likes jazz too if they acknowledge solos at the end, where I'm just like, that's a really lost thing to me. As someone that I do feel like I'm listening intently. And if I'm in the right atmosphere where someone takes a solo and I know we're about to go back to the top, it's like, yeah, I'll get involved in the applause there. But sometimes you don't know, and there is like that nervous feeling in the room. So there's a mutual exchange of going out on a limb. Just like, not only did I hear you, but I want to be a part of this for that moment, you know?
And I think I tell you what, I think those people who are there and they listen and they engage, and especially, it's one thing even like to clap after the song, but if they're the type who they're the one person in the entire room who's going to clap after that solo, I think that confuses people even more. The other people are even more confused. And I think that person's actually pretty brave, because I'll admit, because when I'm in those environments, if there's something that I'm appreciating as a patron, but I know like, oh, this isn't a venue, I usually don't clap, or, if they look, I might acknowledge or something, or do something soft, just to show or whatever. But like, I don't know if this is a self-conscious thing, but I'm not about to be the guy at the bar who, like, when the song is over and I'm the only one, I'm not going to be the guy who's just like, puts their fork down with, like, so the people around me are like
the shoulders too.
Yeah, some people around me are just like, oh God, I don't want to. I'm not rude.
Yeah. My mother told me not to be an ass.
Yeah. But then when they do it in the middle of the song, it just, I don't have that kind of.
Yeah. Well, this is something that I've always admired about you, but I also find it to be like one of the most appreciable pieces of your humor is just like. In a loving way, to say fuck them, It's like, because what's gone into this moment and this piece of art and this very fleeting thing that you and I participate in, where we vibrate the air for the sensation of our own joy and hopefully their joy. But if they don't show up to the party, I'm still eating the charcuterie board. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's cheese is not going to be left on the table for anybody, if you're not going to eat some of it.
Yeah,
so,
that's fine.
Yeah, there has to be that acceptance. Like, has that always been easy for you to let it kind of roll off your back and say, like, I know why I do this. I don't need your approval?
I think that's a great question. I like that. I would say short answer, yes. I think for anybody, it takes you time to get there. And with anything you like to do, reminding yourself, like, or being honest with yourself of like, oh yeah, like, why am I doing this? And when you truly are doing it for the right reasons, then you're not gonna, then all those things melt away, the other things melt away. I mean, we're human, and feedback or engagement from other people feels good. I mean, validation feels good, but that's in some of it too, like the situation I just described, knowing what expectations to have or not have is huge. I would be much, there can be disappointment when, I could be disappointed or frustrated if I'm in a room that's set up to, for the sake of performance, where it's like, oh, there's a stage and it costs a cover or a ticket price to be here. All of the chairs are facing the performers. Like, it's, when you're in an environment that's like, oh, this is set up to present performance. Everything about it is designed to present and draw attention to performance. And when the loudest thing in the room is the person at the table right here. That's when it's like, man, get fucked. Like, you know, it's like you didn't. It's because this isn't a restaurant. You didn't just happen in here for dinner tonight. You know, because in those other environments, I understand. Like, yeah, like not everyone in the space bargained to have me doing this here. So now, granted, they've accepted that I'm here. If they're going to stay here, then they know that I'm a part of the environment. But I don't need, I don't need those people engaging with what I'm doing because, like I said, they didn't intentionally set out to see me this evening. I was also I wasn't hired to put on a performance. I'm hired to contribute to the atmosphere of this environment. So I don't need, I'm not going to walk away forming opinions of the public because I played in a corner. It was like, oh man, nobody appreciates what I do. It's like, well, that wasn't set up to be an appreciated experience. If people do appreciate it, hey, that's fantastic. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And there always are. There are always people who will come up and be like, oh, that was really nice. Or just, at least give you a look when you do something and smile to show like, hey, I've noticed. And it's like, hey, that's fantastic. Like,
I like the motive of managing your baseline and your expectations is such an important part of having a quality life that you can maintain.
Yeah.
Not every day can be the best day of your life,
Yes.
Some days if you go up for a layup, someone's going to swat that shit out of the air, and you're going to be humiliated, and your mom's probably going to pick you up. If baseline was getting past the ball, you would have had a pretty good day, but instead you got humiliated. Okay,
Yeah.
playing pickup again.
Yeah. No, that's huge. Yeah, expectation management is big.
Yeah.
It's all, and that's where you can set yourself up for failures, or you can set yourself up for things that aren't real or realistic that way, So managing expectation, and in general, this isn't a negative thing. I try to keep minimal expectations of anything at all times, and that's not saying to having low expectations and no expectations are not the same. That's not the same thing.
Yeah,
I believe, which is cool. So having no expectation means you don't have an expectation, good or bad. It's not assuming it's going to be bad. I just don't have I'm going in completely flat or just going in completely open. Because that way, when you go in that way, you're actually going to find a lot more positives than you would if you went in thinking, oh yeah, this is going to be great. And there's nothing wrong with having a positive attitude, but with any attitude, positive or negative, there's a line where it's not productive anymore. If you're one of these people who's incredibly negative, I feel like that you set yourself up for the same downfalls that you do if you are just as measurably positive as the person who's hard negative. I have negative expectations at all times, as negative as they can be. If you have the positive equivalent of that, I think that's just as counterproductive, because even though it comes from a good place, but if you go in just thinking oh yeah, I completely expect that this can be the most beautiful experience I've had in a long time. It's well, it's probably not going to be. So if you go in just oh man, no, this will be fantastic. This will be amazing. Oh, this will be so good. And if it isn't so good and so amazing, you're now disappointed because you set up this expectation for yourself of oh, this is going to be a transcendent experience. And then you go in and it could still be good.
Yeah.
But if it's just I was all right compared to oh, I'm transformed, you're well, you didn't get transformed the way you told yourself you were going to be. So now you walk away just oh man, everything kind of fell short.
Yeah.
But
and if you don't balance being content and being ambitious, you really don't get shit done. It's I think that's the stoner trope where it's if this guy gets the butt of the bread and there's one piece and then the butt left, he's oh, dude, there's still two pieces. I'm still making a PB&J versus someone else would have been pissed about that. And it's well, you can't artificially induce enough dopamine to make everything better.
Yeah.
You need to be in a place that's going to provide the call to fix issues that aren't going to be recurring parts of slowing you down in this life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's something great about taking stock in the good things, but you can't be blind to the shit in your life that is calling for attention at some point, you know? Sometimes I can be a little too optimistic and someone tells me about something going on in their life. And they're like, I don't want to hear you tell me what's good about what's going on in my life. I'm like, oh shit, my bad. You know?
Yeah, that's like that's really perceptive. You're absolutely right. But yeah, that whole thing has helped me a bunch. It also helps me stay like level and focused. I feel like that whole thing has been really great for my general like mental well-being. You know, it's kind of this is always kind of funny. Most of the time, my default, or I do this a lot. You know, when people ask, especially in like the small talk sense, when people are just like, "Oh, how you doing?" She's like, "Oh, I'm doing all right." Like, thanks. And they're just like, "You're like just all right?" Like, I didn't say it. Like, it's not bad, you know. But also, like, I'm not having the most incredible day I've ever had. Doesn't mean I'm having a bad one.
Yeah.
You know, and I could be having like really good. I mean, if I want to weigh it out, but that's the thing is like, I start having this conversation. I said, well, how into the weeds do you want to get over how I'm doing? It's like, because you wanted a short answer, and when I didn't say like, oh, I'm great, you got like concerned. Well, if you're truly concerned, then what are you doing for the next 30? Because like, I can give you the whole. I can weigh out why, like, actually, you know, maybe compared to a lot of people, I am doing absolutely great. But just in general, in my experience, like, yeah, today I'm all right because it's like, yeah, nothing bad is happening. Like, I feel good. I'm in a good mood. You know, traffic wasn't shit or whatever. But also, like, I've had experiences that were far more transcendent than this one.
Yeah.
So I'm not just like, oh man, I'm just great. It's like, no, I'm fine.
But
fine's not bad.
It's worth welcoming someone into your mind too, where it's like, I don't have a lot of room for passable questions. So if you're gonna come to me with this 5-second exchange, don't tell me what my answer should be. You know, it's a little bit of an infringement on my own personal thoughts.
And it's the expectation thing. You just like, it's like, man, did you ask me that because you wanted my answer, or did you ask me that because you were just waiting for me to give? You wanted a response, and when I didn't give the response, you're just like, wait a minute, you're just not just like great. No, I'm not fucking great. You know, like,
wait, I think that's
with a smile on my face. You know, it's like
that's an awesome setup to start into this project, because the world of music changes every single day. The world of commodities changes every day. But when we're talking about your artistic output, there's a line between precious and kind of matter of fact that you have to be when you're making this. So tell us what the project is.
Talk about the album release coming up?
Yes,
I figured. So yeah, the boys and I, Spherical Agenda, which the fusion band, the original fusion band, I've been in for about, I think, pushing 8 years, which is pretty awesome.
Absolutely.
Pretty proud of that. But I think yeah, the better part of 8 years at this point. We've got our second album coming out.
When did you start the album?
It's been a lengthy process. So the actual recording has been done for a bit. So the recording was completed in, or what to say, the record, so like the mixing and mastering, so but like the actual, after we recorded, got that situated, then after a few months, you know, took a few months to get all the production finished. So I think the tracks themselves were complete around February of last year. Yeah, they were. So it would have been like February. It would have been early 2024 we got everything kind of situated. And so it would have been in 2023, middle or late 2023, when we did all the recording.
Is this all in the room recording? The band's been playing these tunes for a while? Or are you kind of learning these from...
Yeah, so all this music... Yes, I think... Yeah, all of it, except there was one thing... There's one thing that we recorded that was not performed, but that's just the nature of that piece. is very kind of lends itself to studio process anyway. But the other 7 were all things that we had workshopped quite a bit on live performance, which is a nice way to do it, because we get a lot of these things. There'll be, somebody will write something, and usually bring in a pretty complete, composition or idea, something that has a lot of thought put behind it, from the get-go, or something that reasonably does stand on its own, just kind of in general. But we usually bring it in, we play it, and just as we play, it develops over time, and usually things kind of develop in 2 ways. They naturally develop as we play it and kind of figure out what we do with it as a unit. And then, especially when it comes time to record, if we know, like, oh, let's record an album, so we have to commit to a take and an arrangement or whatever, that kind of helps us shape it even further, because we might take something then and say, okay, like, we found a way, we've played it, and then sometimes we'll even take that and refine it. So on a lot of songs, we get really comfortable playing them and really comfortable kind of stretching and manipulating them live. And then after we do that and kind of see where it's gone live, we could say, okay, that's cool. We've had a lot of fun with that. Now, how do we split the difference? How do we bring the dynamic that we've found on the song as a unit, but also rein it in enough to be, to package it a little bit, because it still has to be like a track, 1 of 8 on a record, and a record is going to be like 45 to 60 minutes long. So, and it's also important that not everything is just an 8 to 12 minute ordeal as well. That's something that's huge. You need some balance. So, because of that, we'll often take how things have been played, and then we'll be able to maybe kind of split the difference or arrange that a bit, or figure out, like, okay, this has a tendency to go this direction. We like that. How can we then maybe make adjustments, or how can we, that's a good word for it. How can we then kind of take maybe the stretching that we've done and add some organize it a little bit, so that we're still kind of stretching or developing, but now we've taken something that would normally maybe be open, and we've now like taken and added tiers to it, so it's still a journey, but we've added segments where it naturally, now the framework is designed to take steps up, instead of leaving it completely to chance, where like, oh, maybe we'll have a nice steady climb, or actually no, this one just kind of sat here for a long time.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
How much do you feel like you, for this album in particular, kind of knew what parts of the arrangement would stay after the gig versus after listening back to footage? Because sometimes you finish the tune and it's like, that was it. We know just the feeling of it. Or you go back and listen and you say, well, now we found a secondary hook that exists in this section.
Yeah. So for this one, I think this one, when we went in to record it, I think we were pretty set on a lot of things. What was cool is between the first album and then this one, the second, something I think we're all really proud of is that musically, stylistically, it's this second effort is quite a bit more cohesive than the first. And I don't feel the first one was musically, even the first one wasn't all over the map, or at least not too all over the map. It was definitely, I think everything from our first record compositionally, I think they all sit well together. I like the flow of it. And also, like, one of the things we like to do, we want to have a lot of variety in the music. When you play instrumental music, or instrumental music that tends to be heavy on improvisation, you definitely need as much variety with all the musical elements as possible. Because, like, that's, a lot of that stuff can kind of live in one space and just sit there for years. We're just like, oh, it's this band, and like everything kind of sits like, it's it's easy to fall into that. So we had a wide, a pretty wide variety of styles and all that, and even something we did on the first record, like the mixing of it, and this is kind of cool, but it's something I'm happy we developed. Even the first record, like sonically from track to track, like the production style on each track was kind of specific to each one, and in ways that was cool, because we'd have one song, it was like, oh, this is, one song is very, very much influenced by a certain era of music or something. So we would maybe lean into kind of the production style of that era for that song. And then we'd have the next song. It's like, oh, well, this one actually draws a lot from over here. So we'd maybe use what those records sound like. So what we ended up with was, each song had very clear reference points. But when you put them all together, like sonically, they were a little bit all over the map. And just in terms of like the production style. So for this one, for that record, it took a lot more reining in, I feel like. And I like what we came up with, because the arrangements that we settled on to record those songs are things we were able to hang on to. And now as we continue to play those, they've become really fantastic vehicles for what we do. And especially now that we've been playing them for several years. So that whole process was, really productive, and we continue to develop those things, which is, rewarding and really exciting. It's not just like, oh, we played those so much, we did that album, let's never do it again. We still have a blast, like really, like deconstructing those things on stage for people.
Yeah.
So like that's been awesome, and that goes well. But the new one, this is just, growth and maturing, I guess, as a unit. Just from the get-go, the compositions themselves just were naturally a little more. I mean, this shows the growth of, like mostly Brandon and Ben. They're the ones who bring in like all the bulk of the compositions, or like the starting points. And I mean, they're more than starting points. Like I said, they're usually, like I said, they're fleshed out compositions and ideas for sure.
Yeah.
But then we continue to, bring them out or develop them. But they were.
It seems so important though that those, all of these band members, this is such a stacked lineup of individuals that are such a heavy rotation in different parts of the musical scene, but also you're always playing together in certain environments. It's great that on the second time around, this group has more of a voice, because there's a lot of other places for loose ideas to land when they don't fit that voice, I'd imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's going to be a Brandon solo project or a Ben solo project, or to have diversity in life makes it a little bit easier to see what is the congruent lines between these things as you start to approach. And one thing I wanted to include for listeners is a lot of time when you go into the studio for a production, you have something called a reference track. It's a song that you like the way that sounds and the way that feels, and there's certain production isms that you'd like to include in that. And when you have a lot of hands on deck, sometimes that can be pulled a lot of different ways, but slowly that starts to become the flavor of the month, and it starts to kind of be felt throughout. It's not just one reference track for this track. It's these reference tracks for this album, and now we have a little bit cleaner seams in between everything.
Yeah. This was, I think just everything, like, Brandon and Ben, in the time between the first record and now, have clearly grown as composers. So the compositions that came in were, you could say, more complete in ways. And what's cool is there's still room for us to develop them the way that we do as a unit. But from the get-go, there was like a level of completeness that was present. That was just from, it just comes from more experience of writing things. So there was that. And then also, I could tell like this collection of music for the second album is definitely more cohesive in terms of like the album as a whole. I feel like has more of a. There are more reference points musically that are spread across the whole thing, rather than like, oh, this track really, really sounds like, coming from the tribal tech or almost like weather report space. But this track actually kind of leans into, it's like fusiony, but it also there's a lot of like, more like neoclassical rock, Deep Purple, and immediately I'm thinking of like some of the songs are like that. Like one of the songs off the first record, which is actually one of my favorites to play. We don't play it very much, but it's totally has a section in the middle that you would hear on like a Deep Purple record. It's this thing, it's this big, it's this fast kind of shuffly thing, and there's this little neoclassical sounding like organ thing. It's written into the tail end of it. So, before we had a lot of that, and we still do, but now like the record itself, this record, I'm really happy to say, has much more of its own, just like, just more focused, which is just, I think ideally for most artists, that's kind of what records do over time. So because of that, it was like a slightly different process. We still had to focus things a bit, but it was naturally, this record has a little bit more of a unified musical voice, just naturally.
Yeah.
Hopefully
What's the name of the record?
It's self-titled.
Very
so
nice.
the first one was called Arcane Wisdom. We named it after one of the tracks on the album. This one, I don't know, I thought it would be fun to go self-titled with it.
Yeah.
I always thought it was kind of fun when artists or bands do that, when one of the records that isn't the first record ends up just being self-titled. Or you could pull a Peter Gabriel where your first 4 records can all be self-titled. Like, did you know that?
I did not.
Yeah, I think it's the first 4. His first 4 solo records, like after Genesis, are all just called Peter Gabriel. So people refer to him as like 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
Kind of like the Zeppelin thing. I mean, even actually, how did it? No, I guess on the Zeppelin jackets they actually do say.
Yeah, they
2,
do
3.
dictate.
They do dictate, but also with the Zeppelin ones, that was the first time as a kid. That was the first time I had seen records just get referred to as just like, yeah, it's just 3. Because that kind of confused me a little bit too. Because I remember the first one by chance, first Zeppelin record I ever checked out was the first one. My uncle had a pretty fat CD collection, and I was going through it, and yeah, I was getting into music. It was right at the time where I was starting to get into like bands and music like that, and so I'd heard of Zeppelin, and I'm like, well, I should check this out. What is it? And yeah, but got lucky. Like he had the first, I think, 4 on disc. So by chance, I picked up the first one. But I remember looking at the others, and that was the first time I had seen like 4 records from a band. None of them had like unique record names. They all just had the band's name on them. And it was just like, one had a 3 on it. And, well, 4 doesn't have a 4 on it. 4 is just the guy with like the bushel of sticks on his back.
I didn't know that.
You know what I'm talking
There's
about?
a certain attitude to the self-titled kind of vibe too, where it's just like, this is who we are, and in the simplest form of consumer experience flow. If you type it in, this is what you get,
Yeah.
And it seems like there's a stamp on this project of how it's arrived in that kind of a way. I think of a lot of stupid analogies, but for some reason, this one feels really on the nose for the way that music can work when you have a heavily improvised band. And a lot of this is inspired, for me, by Prince, where the record is like buying the pack of Legos. You know exactly what it's supposed to look like by the end. He gave you all the pieces. They assemble. You get the Death Star. That is what it is. But by the time that I've finished 10 packs of these things, now I just got fucking Legos, and I can build whenever I want. So the condensed version on the album is just the foundation, but in the live show we have all this play to kind of go throughout and to build whatever we want with them. They're the tiers, the dynamics that we've decided on, but none of that's going to be set in stone at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes me wonder, did the sequencing of this album begin in the live shows, or did the sequencing start at the beginning of recording?
I would say for this one, it's probably a little bit of both. Like I had mentioned, there are definitely some of these things kind of played themselves through kind of from the get-go. You know, definitely the compositions brought in this time around probably were a little more complete than like the first round in ways. Some of them are, yeah. Some of them we didn't. Some of them we really didn't do much to at all, and then others just kind of lend themselves to needing shaping from everybody after playing them for a bit. So it was like a little column A, a little column B. But yeah, hopefully that answers.
Yeah,
yeah, there was a little bit of both.
Well, in terms of like how the songs run into each other, you know, we played this track and we played that track. Did those things kind of derive from a lot of the live show set lists?
No.
Okay.
Maybe some.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe some, but nothing immediately jumps out in my memory of like, you know, having a set list or whatever. Be like, oh, that's it. I mean, definitely when it comes to shows and planning sets, I mean, we definitely, it's very similar to planning set order on an album, really. So I'm sure there were at least a few times or instances in live performance where, you know, thinking through like, oh, this is a nice sequence, like these two or these three, or ending like this. There have definitely been times where set order from the performance has impacted the album order. Especially, I could think of that in some other bands I've been in, definitely. But there's definitely some of that carried over into here. So yeah, I guess so. Like, but nothing, you know. Yeah. So yeah, but
it's interesting sometimes to just feel like a matched pair after a certain amount of runs of the set. And it's like there's something about the tonality of this or the way that the energy flows in the next one. It's like, that's just going to sit here as is. In the recording process, would you go in and say, today we're doing this track and we're doing 5 takes of it and then sitting down and listening back? Or are you going to run a batch full of songs and see how the day felt?
We try to kind of, it's a little bit of both. I say in general, we try to cruise through again, and we're all pretty firm believers that like once you hit take 3, that's kind of the end of that. Well, especially when you're trying to record an album's worth of material over a couple of sessions. But I always kind of like, for the most part, just getting through the 2 to 3 takes, or sometimes you'll play a take or two, and can be pretty confident of like, oh, we're gonna keep that, or that's the one that we're gonna use for edits, because most of the time, especially the way things can be recorded now, you want a great band take, but at the very least, you just need a good drum performance. Because the way we record, the way we've recorded the last 2 albums, the drums were the only thing that, were recorded with microphones. So that was the only thing that couldn't be really edited if need be, was the drum performance. Now, granted, even when you get the drum performance you want, there's still only so much editing you can do around it, because you don't want to edit it to the degree where it sounds like 4 different performances, from the other people.
Yeah.
So there's still, we still want to pick the one where the band has the best dynamic, where the edits, if there are any, are just going to be like, oh, I could clean that passage up a little bit. So it's like, well, overdubbing that passage to clean it up a bit isn't going to damage the energy of the group, like the pocket of the group or whatever in that instance, because all I'm doing is just cleaning up like a little flub or something that maybe I was a little sloppy on, or so-and-so missed a melody note. All right, we'll go punch that, because like fixing the melody note isn't going to take away from the natural energy of the whole band take. Maybe solo, but even then, like, you even have to be careful if you start dubbing solos. Depending on how it was recorded. If you overdubbed, say, a solo section where it was kind of determined, like, oh, we're going to go through this 3 times, layer it and build it like this, then you can kind of set up like a bed for it, even if a solo isn't happening, and then dub a solo later because you kind of decided, like, oh, here's the arc. The arc is kind of pre-planned. So if I go back and then maybe overdub a solo, even though I didn't record it live with Devin or with the band, it's still going to sound cohesive because we determined, like, oh, we knew what the arc was, so whatever I'm going to dub later is going to follow the same storyline, so to speak, as what we decided as a group. But if you're doing live solo takes in the studio, where ideally the band is reacting to how the soloist is playing, that's one where it's like you immediately lose. You have much less opportunity to do any editing. So if you don't, at that point, you kind of have to pick, oh, I like this solo. And if there's something you don't love about it, you usually have to leave it in there. And maybe you can go in and fix little things. Like, I've done it. I think a lot of us have done it. But you can't just, like, oh, I decide I don't like it, scrap it. Because especially Devin on drums, if there's a solo and Devin played in a manner, if Devin was caused to play in a manner by something somebody else played, and that person decides, oh, I don't like it anymore, and then they want to go re-record a solo, that can mess up how things sit.
Yeah. And how much is that a group choice versus an individual's choice for their instrument?
We all have input. Unfortunately, because we learned a lot from that on the first record. There were definitely times where we realized we hit a wall where it's like, we have to go back to what it was like, like in our own time. Like those of us who can dub in our own time, like, our guitar players, bass players, keyboard players.
Everybody but Devin.
Yeah, seriously. Like, yeah, in a way that's awesome. Like, there's a pressure to it. And I mean, ideally, I get it all out in the studio too. I really don't want to go into a studio session thinking, on one hand, like, the lack of pressure can be good, but I don't want to go into the studio thinking, like, oh, if I have to do all of this again, I can't. It's like, well, the whole point of getting ready for the studio session was to do it there.
Yeah. There's a romance in the fear where it's like,
yeah,
it should be my best, and managing expectations. All the times that this has gone phenomenally, for this Tuesday at 11:30 a.m. to be the day is sometimes a lot to ask yourself, but there's also constraints make the best start. If it needs to be done next week, that's great.
Yeah, and there's something too where, it forces you to, it happens there, you get it done there, and then you have to commit to it and live with that. Because, like, oh, like, this session's over and we tore down. That's it. It's done. So for, like, if you're in a position where you can plug in at home and keep going, like I said, you start to lose what you captured, and also at some point you have to remind yourself, like, oh, I have to let this go, so I can move on. So again, the first record we found some sweet spots where it was like, oh, we've pushed the editing part, or we went too far. Because I remember there was that thing I was talking about the solos and dubbing solos. There was one specifically on the last record where we had our takes, and one of the guys said, again, just it's easy to get two in your own head. You listen to the thing over and over again. You're like, and of course our own playing, we're most critical of our own playing. And so you go through and you're just like, oh, I could have done this, could have done this, could have done this. So somebody overdubbed, one of the guys did a solo and sent us a takeover. Like, guys, the solo is so much better than the other one. And even though, like, maybe objectively that could be true in ways, immediately we all realized, like, oh, that doesn't even sound like, clearly we can tell that wasn't recorded at the same time. Or, like, it's coming from such a different place than like what the rest of the track sounds like. And that's when we like that learning experience of like, no, we actually, you have to commit to one of the ones that was on there. If you want to tweak some things, you can, but it's actually, no, you can't scrap the whole thing. That actually completely wrecked what the whole thing originally felt like being recorded at the same time with everybody.
Yeah. I spent some time at Xavier the other day because one of my own marketing teachers wanted me to talk about social media thing. And do you know Mike Heffron?
Yeah. Wait, Mike.
Nick's brother.
Oh, yeah, Nick's brother. Yeah.
So he puts up some videos there just talking about social media and kind of like advanced storytelling. He said you need to kind of have your core tenets in line, the non-negotiables of what you are. And it's great to hear of some of the non-negotiables in making this art, where it's like, I'm not going to remove you from the room where this happened in, as much as it could be. The question is it beneficial or is it artificial? And there's a Venn diagram in there where we can kind of play a little bit in the middle. But for the group to say, well, it feels like it's totally removed from the space. And even though you had time to mull over it, it's not real. And even if no one else can notice, we can notice. And as we look back, you need to be able to hold to some of those tenets of why we do this, and that's a beautiful expression of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So as you start to get ready to let go of this project and put it out into the world, what's it like to manage expectations versus to start to look back at the first record and say, we could do these things better with release? We could let these things go in the release cycle.
We're definitely trying to go bigger. Yeah, we went to all this trouble. One of the, things we did this time. Again, we're just trying to grow the thing. So some of it is taking some chances, trying some stuff out. The record it's a more cohesive thing, and then like the production aspect we had last time we did our own, we self-produced everything. And this time we had somebody. We got some recommendations. But a gentleman out in Austin, a guy named Matt Wiles, did the mixing and the mastering for us. He does the mixing and mastering for a Austin band called Prager, which is a great name. Great band. We've been friends with the guys in Prager for actually just almost as long as the band has been around, really. So we like how those records sound, so we got the recommendation from those guys. And he did a great job. Like, we really like it. So that helps the record have, like, he helped really package the record sonically or, production-wise. Release-wise, yeah, this time we really wanted to, get into a room or a venue that we hadn't, just go a little bigger. And, like, really, I really wanted to present something. I loved how our first release went as well. It was really successful. We had a blast. It was fantastic. But this time, really wanted to put a lot of intent behind it. So, we're doing it at the Woodward Theater. There's some chances we're taking because, like, we haven't played, or we haven't played in a room or an environment like that where we had to draw that many people just like as a show. We've played large events, we've played to large audiences and different things. But this is the first time that we've, where we have to ideally, move 200 plus tickets.
There's a money where the mouth is kind of moment.
Yeah.
But the great thing there too is like, you can do a lot of things on social media in terms of making noise, but where you really find out if someone's in is when they sit down at the end of the night and they have the link and they reach out to people on an individual basis saying,
yes,
I would like you there because I think you would enjoy this show. It would mean the world to have you there because you know how much this means to me. Like
100%.
There's a missing piece in between the online and the in-person that says, regardless how I reach out to you, whether I hit you in a fender bender and then I tell you, like, before the insurance company calls, like, just know I got the show coming up. It's like, it doesn't matter how we reach each other as long as we reach each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's the right venue for this kind of thing right now where, there's too many times where you've packed the smaller rooms, and there's a chance right now to say, what are we truly capable of?
Yeah.
And each one of you has your own, what I would call fan base, even if you wouldn't, of
I know what you mean.
People that see your work and they say,
you have your own communities that might not complete, they all overlap, but we all have people that know the music or know the band through us. Like,
you are the avenue.
We all have those, as individuals, we all have those people in our lives who interface with, they don't know the other guys in the band, or they don't go see a lot of things. Like, I might be the one professional freelance musician they know.
Yes.
So anything in my camp they have to be brought to it through me, or one of the other guys. You're absolutely right. And yet you're totally, that whole thing of like the personal touch, that's like kind of the big one for this coming up. Like because we did all the things, we've put money into advertising, all the other odds and ends, like a combination of the Woodward themselves, they put some efforts in on their end. So even though we have done the thing where we've invested money and time and resources into the things that you're supposed to do when you promote an event and put an event on, the final piece that I'm trying to stay on, as well as the other three guys, at the end of the day, it's like, and especially in this home stretch, it's just like just one-on-one, just telling people one-on-one, and not even sending text to groups of people, but like, it's okay to copy and paste the thing, but like just sending it individually.
Yeah.
Like, hey, if you're free, like this is going on, we're putting a lot into this. If you happen to be free, come on out. Because I know that stuff works on me more than most things. If somebody says, if I run into somebody out and about and they say, "Oh, next Saturday, this is what I'm doing." If it's clear that it's something they're telling me about, it means it's something they care about. And it's easier if I'm free that evening and somebody was like, "Oh, I just letting you know next Saturday I'm doing this with whatever."
Yeah. Is it next Saturday? You didn't give us a date.
In this case, yeah, it is next Saturday.
Give me the full pitch one more time.
All right, let's get this out.
Just for my soundbite moment.
Yeah, so we need this. So our the Spherical Agenda self-titled album release is going to be November 29th. So at this time, that is next Saturday, because today's Wednesday the 20th. 19th? 20th.
19th.
Okay. So today, yeah, great. So today's the 19th.
At the Woodward Theater.
Yes, at the Woodward Theater, the historic Woodward Theater in OTR, downtown. And yeah, it's just us. We're playing 2 sets. The first set is album music. The second set is going to be a lot of fun. So the second set is a combination of still some originals of ours, some older originals, and then some selected kind of deeper fusion cuts, some covers, the kind of stuff that you really don't hear a lot of bands try. So that was fun. And there's some specifics that all inspired us in different ways that we all like for different reasons. There are things we all agreed on, but there's definitely like one, there's one that Ben kind of brought up. Ben was like, "Oh, I'd really like to do this," and we did that. There was another one that I really wanted to do that made the list. There are 4 total, but we were able to agree on 4 that we all really liked. And then we have some guests musically. So our friend Patrick Graney is a percussionist up in the Cleveland area. Is going to be playing the show with us. He's played with us before. He's come down, or when he's been in the area, he's done like entire sets at Stanley's with us, because we play once a month over at Stanley's, and so he's not new to the whole thing. And his what's the word for it? His musical intuition. He fits really well. Just like his sensibilities and all that. Like I said, he's showed up to gigs, and you've heard some of the music. This isn't, people ask, like, how do you just like sit in with a band that plays that music? But again, he's a really sensitive guy, musically speaking. So he just keeps his ears open, really listens, makes adjustments where he needs to, but again, just brings great ideas and textures. And then the way he plays kind of causes us to do things certain ways, especially on the open parts.
Is he on the album?
He's on one track on the album.
Cool.
Actually. And that track is out. It's a track called Cabin Fever, which was one of the singles. So that song is out and available. So you can hear him at doing what he does best.
I'll probably include that in one of these clips. So hopefully once some folks are going to be seeing this, we'll get some of the taste of it.
Yeah. So Patrick's going to be playing the show, or most of the show. There might be a couple of songs here and there he's not going to play on, but he's going to be playing most of it. And then the second set, we're going to have another great musical guest. We have Zach Brock on violin. I think Zach's probably most known for being the violinist for the band Snarky Puppy. But he's from the area. He's from Lexington, and he recently moved back to Lexington. So because of that, and then just having a lot of mutual friends, and musically, it's a small world. So Brandon and I have been playing with Zach every couple of months since he moved back. We've done a couple dates like here in town. We did something down in Lexington, but we have like a really cool kind of chambery, drummerless, like upright bass, guitar, violin. We have this kind of more chambery thing that we've been doing that's been a lot of fun. So Zach's a world-class musician. And again, big fan of this music, as like this kind of music. So after kind of forming like a relationship with him over the last several months, he seemed pretty excited to join us on the release show. So so we went all out, got some guests. So like I said, we're gonna be at the Woodward Theater. We got some guests at 2 full sets. I really wanted to do the whole like evening with type of thing. I love when bands do that. And the whole thing too, to have like a theater, ticketed, seated thing. And yeah, just like it's such a beautiful space. I really wanted to present something. I said that was the big one. We've played in a bunch of other rooms, great rooms in town, and had great experiences. But this was the first one. It's like, well, I don't know. I just wanted to do it in a way that a lot of bands like ours don't do it, unless or like local ones, like bands that are relatively unknown, I guess we'll say. It's easy to just book your release at like whatever quote unquote jazz room there is. And I was like, I had no interest in that. It's like, no, I wanted to make it feel the way it feels like when you'd go see, when I go see one of my heroes who plays this kind of music, the ones who are more known, and you buy your ticket and you have your seat and you're in like the venue in the theater. There's just so much, like I said, the whole thing is presented to you and all that. And I just thought it was important to I wanted it to be presented as such. So that's why we're doing it the way we're doing it.
I think that's the right call. You need to match the attitude, match the ask that you gave yourself when it came to recording the album, putting together the music, all the way through the process. When it comes time for release, it's like, why do we kick the door in with emails and media marketing? It's like, because the ask is the equivalent. We don't half-ass here when we went full tilt there. It's like the marathon is not yet over, and even then, that's not crossing over the finish line. That's meeting a mile marker that says we're getting close. But I think probably the true end of this cycle is when the next album starts, kind of a thing. So there's a really exciting level of mania that has to overtake the band when these kind of things approach.
Yeah, I know it's been a lot of stress. Because again, there's like that pressure of like, man, if I'm, it is what it is, but. And it's to a point where I've accepted like, okay, we've done what we can, what we're supposed to do with like, okay, yeah, I pumped money into like targeted like social media advertising, got a nice made a press release that Cincy Music, shout out to them. They did a great job. Usually places, like anybody who's been involved with this, it's like everybody knows that you write your own press releases, and oftentimes you write your own articles and then you send them to places, and maybe you knew somebody, so you're the one who puts the effort in. You write your own damn write-up, and then somebody just goes, yeah, they like paste it into their thing, and there it is, and everyone's like, oh, they wrote this thing. It's like, no, I wrote the article on me and got a guy to put it in City Beat or whatever. There's no shade being cast. That's just how those things go. But
it's a good thing for artists to know.
Yeah, but Cincy Music, a lot of credit there is, wrote up the press release, all the important information that you need to write up, because you're not just going to approach one of these places just like, hey, we're doing a thing, like, I don't know, you figure it out. Like,
now do your job for me for no money and no real reason.
Can you do some investigative journalism about my album release? But no, so you have to give them the details in a proper written up form. But man, Courtney at Cincy Music, I was so happy. Like we gave her a press release, and immediately she's like, "Oh, this is great. I'll get something written up." And a few days later, when the article went live, it was so nice because she took the release I gave her and actually like put effort into formatting, and it wasn't just like reformatting what I had written. She actually like took it, like actually read it, processed it, and like the article she put up was actually like written. So it wasn't just a direct like, oh, we took your press release, made sure there weren't typos, and just put it in the thing. No, she actually took it and took pieces of it and like did some of her own writing. Like, how about that? But she actually, like, the effort she put into like crafting what read down as an actual article, like it was so nice that I actually felt like it was like, she actually wrote an article about it. It wasn't just like a direct copy and paste of the press release that most places do.
Yeah.
So that was just like little things like that. It was just nice to have like a local entity that takes that just the hour or whatever it took, or however long it took her, but like to take the time just to take it and like, no, we're actually going to like shape this into one of our articles. Took the photos. So the Cincy Music article just looks beautiful. Like I said, it wasn't just like, oh yeah, there's the interview. There's the interview I made for myself that just got copied and pasted. It was like an actual like engaging thing. Yeah. And then, embedding the links in the article for both like the band, for the Woodward Theater, the ticket link, just the whole thing. It was just so nice. It was like, oh, thank you for like actually putting nice little polishing, like finishing touches on it, beyond what I feel like a lot of people would do. So we did that. I was able to send that over to the Woodward just in time for the Woodward to send their email list out. So like the press release went out. Hopefully, as of last night, for the final week, we got one of those billboards. But the ones that kind of change their
the digital ones.
Yeah, the digital ones. So it's not like it's a permanent fixture. That's expensive. But
dude, you gotta understand that Joann's Fabrics has been out of business now for a little while. We can get that good cardstock on a crazy wholesale discount. I could fix you up a big old banner.
Get me those banners. but yeah, hopefully on my way home this evening, if everything went through, like hopefully on my way home on 75 South, hopefully I see our thing, dude, up there tonight.
That'd be pretty cool.
I remember a friend of mine, I played an event years ago where the guy putting the event together, it was just like a little local thing he was just doing for his people. But I remember driving home once, one of those exchanges downtown, and I look up and I saw a thing for the event on one of those billboards. I was like, holy hell, like that's awesome. And so again, now granted, I don't know what his budget was. Like, hopefully the budget I put in gets me more than like, yeah. like three times a day. Like 1 a.m, it flashes, you can't read it. Then it's like, then it goes back to whatever, plumber's thing. But so yeah, we did all the stuff, and at this point, it's kind of letting go of like, I'm still telling people, I'm still putting the word out, and the internet posts, and we had some, we took some new, much needed in studio video last month. So we just got 3 songs live in a studio. That was fun because that wasn't like the usual studio project where it's like, oh, we can edit this and that. It's like, no, we took a few takes, picked our favorite takes, good mixes, got good mix downs of them, but then, got video edited and then just put it up. So it's just a live take. The second one went up this morning. I'm going to have the third of the 3 going up here in a couple days. So again, just trying to get some eyes on what we're doing. And then the rest of it is, I'm just, for the next couple days, I'm going to be shooting messages to people like, hey, if you're free next Saturday, this is important to us. So if you're free, like come hang out. That'd be great. But yeah, at this point, beyond continuing to tell people, like what happens is what happens. And I can tell you at least, musically it's going to be a good time. But, I feel good about it.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest, like, it's, I feel better now. But some of the stresses along the way of just thinking about, like I said, it's the first time we've had to move that quantity of tickets for ourselves. And I totally believe we can do it.
Yeah.
And a lot of other friends and fans of the band, I told them about it. They all feel good and confident about it too. And we'll see how it rolls. Either way, I'm looking forward to it. No matter what happens, I don't want this to be the case, but even if you're one of 37 people there, we're going to give you the same quality show as if 400 people were in, or however many people were in there. Granted, if there's only 37, that venue, they're not going to like us. That's part.
That's a good point to be made there.
No, absolutely, yeah, that's part of it too. Is if they're, like I said, if they're just like 2 to 3 dozen people in there, so you're going to get a good show. We're going to ruin our relationship with the venue. But again, it's like we're doing what we can, man.
Yeah. Well, it's better to place your bets on the things you can count on, which is yourself, showing up for yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that the album slams. I'm sure that the event's going to be killer, and I appreciate you taking the time to come kick it with me, brother.
Yeah, of course. And like I said, the CD, actually, they should be getting here. It might be getting here today. I think I saw it, check my email this morning. Either today or by the end of the week, I'm going to have the actual physical CDs in hand. Shirts too. By the end of the week, the new shirt with the new logo is going to also be in hand. But yeah, we're gonna have shirts for sale. We're gonna have CDs for sale. If you go to our Bandcamp page, that's the easiest place to buy the record, both digitally and physically. So the 29th, that'll be when the CD becomes available. There's a pre-order going at the moment. If you log into Bandcamp, you can pre-order both the digital and the physical release.
Bandcamp.com/Spherical Agenda.
Yes. Pretty sure. Or I know it's a link like that. At the very least, it were easy to find. If you go to bandcamp.com, type Spherical Agenda into the search bar, you'll find it. But yeah, we're excited. So yeah, the CD will become available. I'm excited. He's a repeat customer, but already I had a pre-order roll in the other day. Forget where he lives, somewhere in Europe. But yeah, so one of the first discs that I'm going to be mailing out is going to be to, I want to say Switzerland. It's kind of fun, or somewhere. But I recognize the guy's name. Like the guy bought the last record, and so it's kind of cool to have a repeat European customer.
Absolutely. It's a bitch at the post office, but it's worth going in there and then trying to flip that person's CD, being like, I got to mail this to Switzerland. You sure you don't want to buy a copy? You sure?
Yeah, right? Yeah. No, I don't. And the international thing's not nearly as bad. It's a little time consuming. But now with last year, I bought a printer. It's changed the game.
Change the game.
So as long as I go pick up some customs. Actually, no, I don't even think I need them in person anymore. You can do all that stuff online. Type it in. I have a scale and all that, so I can this time around for mailing, it's going to be nice. I could do all of that at home, print labels, do the whole thing. So that way, the first time around, I spent a lot of time in post office, man. I was happy to have that problem, but yeah, there would be times like I'd spend like a good 30 to 45 minutes at one of those weird tables.
Hoping that you're legible enough to get this done.
Yeah, like try not to cramp up, but I'm like, filling out customs forms. Like, man, this is the literature that gets this thing out of the country. Like, this is important.
Cramping up over CD sales does not seem like a 2025 issue, but it is.
Right.
It is if you're doing things right.
Doing all those lines on those customs forms.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
Like, oh, can you put the email and the phone number? I'm like, man, the box is this big.
They don't care about your needs down there.
No, it's not about me. But yeah, so it's exciting to be doing it again. But yeah, like next Saturday at 8 p.m., man, it's going off. Doors at 7 or 7:30. I think it's doors at 7. The show's at 8. I can tell you that much. Show's at 8, so come down, get dinner in town. Use all kinds of places. Yeah. So I'm always telling people, come hang out, make a night out of it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. It's more than worth your time, my friends. It'll blow your mind in ways you're probably not prepared for, and that's the best thing about that band. It's full of monsters that do really nice things for the community.
Thanks. Yeah, we're doing what we can. And again, we're having fun. We believe in it. We just wanna get in there. So yeah, if you can come hang out. Yeah, tickets are available online. There's different price tiers. I forget the exact ranges, but depending on where you sit, there's some fluctuation in price. So, there's seating all the way up to the front on the floor. There's a great row of seats along the balcony. It's a great view from the balcony. Behind that row, I know there's some like high tops. So if you have a small group, that's a good way, because I think the high tops have to be purchased as tables, and they have maybe 2 to 4 seats at them or something like that. But yeah, if you're going in if you got a crew of like 3 or 4, you can get yourselves a little table up there, set up shop. But yeah, come on out and buy a CD and buy a shirt, and let the fusion wash over you.
Damn, baby. Matt Wiles, everybody of Spherical Agenda, front row or bust. Get your tickets now. Get the pre-saves in, and a lot of good things on the way. Thanks for coming, brother.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Peace, players.